So I've been asked a lot of times, um, SideOps is all driven around site, and can it do roads? So why would I do a presentation on roadways? Because roadways are part of what SideOps does, but it's a small part, but it's definitely a piece, and it has a lot of value to you, even if you're just doing roadway design, or if you're doing roadways such as subdivisions, smaller level roadways, to be able to create, optimize, and come up with some solutions, and even help create visualization. So let's go back and let's sort of think of why would we want to look at SideOps for roadway? Again, there's Concept Station that Bentley has, which is an absolutely fantastic tool, but there's sometimes you may need something more driven like a SideOps to do your roadway design. So the agenda today, we're going to talk about ideas, especially for the ones who maybe if you've not seen SideOps before. We're going to come in and sort of give you an idea of what SideOps is, how it may fit into a workflow. Now I'm going to show SideOps. I don't like showing movies or PowerPoints. So we're getting where we're going to use the software. What's next? Basically, what are we going to do once we are not seeing SideOps, um, and you want to go further down the path as to what you do with that. So let's start with Michael Dell. He's the chairman and CEO of Dell Computers. I love this saying he does. Ideas are commodity. Execution of them is not. Now I want you to think about what we do pretty much every single day at our job. Part of what we do is usually design something, and the other part is putting it on a piece of paper or on the screen. Again, do some form of deliverable that we're delivering out to the community. I think we'd all agree with that. Now, the idea, a lot of time, because of our experience, because of our education, because what we've been through as engineers and architects and planners, we know what we want. Our problem becomes taking it from our mind out to the computer. So think about the little illustration going on the screen in front of you. You think about things and you come up with great ideas. You've got to do a roadway from point A to B to C to D, and you say, I needed to have a boulevard and we'll taper it down, have drive lanes, and we've got to worry about radiuses and trucks going in and out and traffic patterns. And we can process a lot of data. We're really smart people. We're problem solvers. But to one problem we do have, that SideUps is now going to help you solve, is how do I get it from my brain to that screen really quickly before I can either lose it, before I change, before something goes wrong. And so how are we going to be able to do that? Again, this is the thing that SideOps does different than any other tool out there. Nobody does this. That's why there's a lot of patents around SideOps and its technology, is we use parametrics and optimization. So what is parametrics? It's a big fancy word, so is optimization. So parametrics basically means, from what we're looking at, we're going to take a lot of pieces of a design project. For example, there are tools out there that will say they can do roadway. They only look at a center line as one of the parameters. They may have a little cross section added, but when they're really looking at how things react and act to each other, they don't necessarily do that full wide variety of things we want to look at. For example, in SideOps, when I look at a roadway, I'm not worried about the center line alignment only and then applying a cross section. No. We're going to worry about the center line, and then part of that cross section, I'm going to have a slope to each side for a distance till we get to a curb and gutter, for example. Then we're going to have a shoulder. Then we're going to have sidewalk. If we don't have sidewalk, do we have a ditch? How are we going to grade in? How are we going to deal with being able to manipulate it to go across a creek? All those kind of things that we want to multiple revisions of a project. We want to do it many times over. And the beauty is I only want to change something one time. For example, I want to pick a PVI on a road and move it. I want everything else to change and react to that. I don't want to have to go back and redefine stuff and redo anything. I just want it to happen. And that's done through parametrics. We're doing that linkage. We're doing that intelligent design. And what we're really doing is modeling. What a lot of us have to do is, sometimes, depending on what tools you're using, a lot of times we have to go basically to CAD. And CAD has some intelligence. It's not like it's a dumb system. But you're going down the CAD and you're looking at, how can I make something change? And it just takes time. Well, in SideOps, it's about taking less time, because we want to harness more of your experience, more of your brain power than your CAD drafting abilities. So again, parametrics is going to help you do that. Now, the next thing is optimization. Now, optimization, Again, for the ones who haven't seen SideOps, this is probably one of the best and coolest things that it does. I've got a 2D layout. I'm creating a model in 3D the whole time, but SideOps is going to keep it as ease of 2D. I'm going to hit a grading button, and it's going to take that mesh, and it's going to start looking at how can I go in and create a grading plan that gives me the best cost of construction that meets all my parameters. And then if I don't like what it grades, I can change it and see what the cost difference is. Or if it can't even physically be built, SideOps will give me an error and say, you know what, great design, you got to go back and change something. So it helps even make sure that we're doing the correct thing as we're going forward, which is really cool because, again, a lot of us get in trouble down the road because we overpromise and underdeliver because all of a sudden we told the client, no walls, we promise, no walls. I don't see why. And then next thing you know, they're trying to figure out where a $100,000 wall come from. SideOps would find that up front. And when you lump these things together and you put them into this automated world and you use our experience, this is a thing called optioneering. Now, optioneering, again, it's being batted around more and more. And other softwares will sit there and go, we do optioneering. And when you do a grading plan 3 or 4 times, that's not optioneering. That's doing a grading plan 3 or 4 times. Optioneering is taking all those parameters, putting it with optimization, and looking at designs millions of times. That's right, millions, not 2, 3, or 4. And what I tell everybody is, you know what? If a client gave you enough money and enough time as an engineer, an architect, or planner, or whoever you might be in your design, you would most likely come up with the same design as SideOps. Reality, they don't give us enough time, and they surely don't give us enough money, correct? So what we're going to do is we're going to let SideOps get us to that same point, and again, do it faster, allowing us to look at different scenarios. So real quick, in a workflow, before we jump in and look at SideOps, where does SideOps fit in a typical workflow? It's mainly conceptual, even for the roadway part. We're going to go from the project location. If you've got data, use it. If you don't, SideOps can help grab some data for you. We want to do a 2D design. Then we want to go in and grade that, do some stormwater, do some budgeting, get a stakeholder's thumb up, thumb down, and then we go on and do a revision or to plan production, depending on whether we got the thumbs up or thumbs down. And again, this is where SideOps fits. It's not planned production. Even though you can add some text and you can do some things, that's not its main place in the workflow. You have great, the CAD tools out there are fabulous at what they do. We went and built SideOps looking for what it was, maybe a little bit of what was missing in the industry. Again, what was our struggle? What was taking too much time? It shouldn't take 2 or 3 months to come up with conceptual plans. We have users that will sit down with clients and do it right in front of them, and they'll get it pinned down within a couple of hours instead of a couple of days or a couple of weeks. So there's 5 steps to using SideOps. We're basically going to geolocate. Then we're going to bring in information. It's going to depend on the information, automatically create a surface for you. Again, we're going to make it 3D. We're going to work in 2D. We're going to do our design. Then we're going to grade and do some stormwater. And if you desire, you don't have to, you can take it out to some 3D visualization. Because remember, it is a model. And that's the beauty is we've made modeling simple. A lot of times people say, wow, modeling's really hard. No, we've made it simple. We took out all the difficulties of doing that conceptual model. So let's jump in and let's start looking at SideOps. So SideOps is a web-based tool. We're going to use some Java on your machine to help support it. So I'm just going to log into SideOps. I'm going to my demo account. We're just going to log in real quick, just the same as you would. Now, I was trying to think of where do I want to do a project today. And so a little while ago, I started thinking about it. And I just got off of ESPN because at least most of the Americans on here know it is college football time, right? So we're going to go in and we're going to go do a project near my favorite school, which is North Carolina State University. So we'll just call this a demo. And I'm going to create and open. Same as if a client said, hey, I want to go from point A to point B. And we're going to do a new parkway or a new boulevard. Up front, most likely, I have no information. All I have is the location. So if you don't have anything, not the end of the world. SideUps will go out and help me grab information real quick. I was going to type NCSU, and we'll go down near Centennial Park, and we'll build a new parkway. So Centennial Park at North Carolina State University is right over in this area. And there we go. Here's a little stub out of a road. Let's go from Achievement Drive, relay part of Hunt, all the way over to Western. So let's just go in, select location. One thing you can not worry about SideUps, it can handle large amounts of data, so you don't have to be exact. Bringing areas in, bring in a little more than what you need. It'll make life simpler. So in this case, I put that area on the state plane coordinates. Let's go to Esri. I'm going to grab a little image. This comes along with SideOps. You don't have to pay any extra. You can see we got some other imagery sources up there. USGS, I'm going to grab some topo. Now, of course, again, you can always bring in your own topo. If you're using 3MX, if you're using a lot of Bentley's new technology around droning and using your phone to go out and create 3D models of a site, we can bring that in as well. So again, a lot of information that SideOps can use to create a project. And the beauty is, like I said, we've created a model. I haven't done anything yet except just zoom in like I would in Google Earth, and I've went out and started a three-dimensional model. And now what we're going to do is build upon this model to make things better. So let's just close off a few things. I just want to, and the one thing I like about Esri, if you haven't seen it, once you zoom in, it will actually start giving you higher resolution imagery. Makes life a lot simpler because when I'm zooming in, I can actually see some of that detail. Now, I'm not going to go through everything in SideOps. Again, we're going to focus mainly on roadway. So I'm going to go right up to the layout. This is where you can do things like buildings and parking and residential parcels if you do that. Individual sidewalks, truck docks. We'll look at some, what we're going to look at today mainly is the drive path in the vehicle path route. So I'm going to draw a drive path. In this case, I'm going to just tie it in right here. And I'm just going to freehand a roadway. Now, again, if you knew exactly what you want, you can be more precise. Let's just say we're going to squeeze right through these two pieces of property there. Let's come over and we're going to come in and tie in to the main road out toward the front. In path. There we go. So at this point, I'm just letting some of the image come up. And if we look at it, all we've got is a single line, got some stationing, and we got a red and a green side. Okay, this is basically which side of the road we're going to work on. But before we even worry about that, I want to look at a cross section. Now, I'm going to apply it to the whole road, and we'll play with it individually. You can, by all means, go in and start playing with every little section of the road as you want, making multiple lanes, single lanes. We're going to go in and do a 2-lane on each side, and then we'll do some conditions at the end with a 24-foot median. That matches the existing road on the other end. So we're going to come in and put a median, 24 feet. We're going to put drive lines. I want 24 on each side. And again, this is where I can tell my roadways, do I have curb, do I not? And if I don't have curb, we potentially may have to have a ditch, so we can set a ditch up. And then on the right, or I'm sorry, on the left, I can actually save these as templates. Now in this case, I want some sidewalk. And for a 2-lane road, I don't want the sidewalk 5 feet off of the road. That's a little too close. Let's make it 10, and we're going to make these 8-foot sidewalks. Give them just a little bit more. Maybe we'll have it's going up to the other part of the school, so we most likely will have to deal with some traffic, pedestrian-wise. So I can hit apply. Well, again, we see absolutely nothing happen on the screen. That's because inside SideOps, there's 2 areas that you want to work in. There's this whole big area that's the normal work. And then there's one little area at the upper right. This is what we call the power. I'm going to click it. I'm going to give it just a second. And you're now going to see that roadway. So let me do a quick other little thing. Let's go back to import. I'm going to clip that underlay image. I'm going to go over to layer. I'm going to turn off the Esri. And let's bring the Esri back on. There we go. So the question is, I get a lot of people is, how do I tie into this road that's got this big arch going through? Because my road's sort of flat. I got to match in. Okay, this is pretty simple. There's another thing in SideUps called other area. It can be anything your heart desires. I've seen it from dumpster pads, nuclear reactor pads, to what we're going to do right now is basically tell this system that this is an existing area. And if you want to put more detail, or let's say you bring in planimetrics, even if you had GIS data, had planimetrics, use that, define those as an area. And then I can just say existing, make sure I want to go to my side and say no curb on that. And then at this point, as soon as I touch that drive to that area, I now have come in and it's tying in. So let's just do some basic returns, 50 feet and 50 foot. And I've now got, again, just getting started, I got a little bit of a roadway going. So let's go back to the next step on a road. We got the basic road set up. We're going to play with the bottom entrance just a little bit more in some detail. But what I want to solve right now is I want to fix some of these curves. We cannot have these little curves. So in this case, I may go, you know what? DOT wants a 1,500-foot radius. I can do that. But if I want to go over to one little section, let's look at this house here. Again, I have complete control of this. Let's make it 500 feet. Oh, that's still too close, right? Well, then let's come in and let's change it. I can swing, I can play, I can start editing, and all these things will automatically revise for me. And as we go through grading, they will automatically revise grading. But here's an issue. This is what I like showing. I need a 500-foot radius. I can't get it. So I'm going to have to move that road until those exclamation points go away. So now I got a road that's starting to meet design constraints and doing them a lot better. So one thing I want to do, I'm going to come in, I want to collect this whole roadway, and I want to go over this on the right-hand side real quick. You saw the cross-section template. You saw right below this, or you see that there's a parceling template. So if you do have residential, this can control some of your individual parceling. But what I really want to look at are these two sections right here, the red and the green. Now this is where I can do some really cool stuff. Like I want multiple lanes. I want to come in and I want to put some kind of striping. Let's go in and let's make sure that we have a slope that's going to match my roadway for my sidewalks. I made my sidewalk 10. I'm going to go down to the bottom and I'm going to make my road 10%. Okay. So on the right hand side, this is where I can start manipulating multiple laneage, different things like that. So if I zoom in, we're going to see some striping starting to happen. It's not done. It's just starting to at this point. So what we want to do now, let's go to all sides. And I want to just back out a little bit. And we are going to go in and we're going to grade this. So let's just say for what we're doing, for the first shot of doing this project, this is exactly what we needed to do. Or at least this is what we think, right? One of the next things we want to do is we want to go in and we want to grade. So when we go and grade, we're going to hit the other power button, which is grading solver. I'm going to give this just a second to come on and catch up on everyone's end. What's happening is SideOps is grading the project. Now, here's what we got to worry about. This is one of the little things we're going to show. This is a little tip for the ones who are users on here and the ones who aren't. You see all this red and blue that's happening around. Red is cut and blue is filled. And you see all this area. They're going, wait a minute, my road is right here in the middle. But I'm seeing all this excess. This is the beauty, again, of parametrics. That's good and bad. Inside SideOps, it's going to do exactly what you tell it to. What I've told it is it can grade anywhere inside this property boundary, and every slope must be flatter than a 3-to-1 slope. So what I need to do, simple. We're going to go in and define a new boundary. Now, I could bring one in from meets and bounds if I want to be a little more exact, and I could follow some GIS property lines. For today, I'm just going to go in, we're just going to draw a new boundary. I can just freehand it because remember we brought in an area way bigger than we need. So all I got to do is just tell it, do that. At this point, now let's start that grading solver back up, and we're going to see a difference. Now I'm only grading my roadway. So as we go in, we can start seeing cut and fill. We'll put this in just a little bit closer for you to see. We can see contours. Again, just what we would expect. And then I want to come in, maybe look at a boundary, just get a little idea. There's my sidewalk. There's my roadway. There's my median. So I've got the quick design made up. Let's go in and look at some other things. Like, what if we go back over to this end? We'll go right into this little area. What if they said, you know what, we got to do some roadway tie-ins? How do we interact the road to each other and then do a cut across so they can get in and out? Well, again, it goes back to harnessing our experience. So I want to go up to drive path. We're just going to click this one real fast, come across, hit end path. I'm going to start up the solver. And right now we don't see anything, and that's not a problem because what we have are radiuses that go across each other, and I've now got a simple little drive. And if I want to add sidewalks and go further and do different things, that's fine. But what I need to do now is cut this median out. Pretty simple thing to do. But there is one little thing you got to look at. So let's go in and let's trim this. I'm going to use my chain sides to grab these two areas, select them. And right here on the right, I can say to get rid of that median. Okay. Whew, everything went crazy, right? Well, that 12 feet on each side of center line we have for median, we need to now go back and add in to the each lane. And I'm going to tell it no striping because we have a crossover. So let's go 36 and no striping. And now we're back looking better. So see, now whenever I grade, this is going to change along with that. That road will move up and down with it. It will do everything we need to. So roads will interact with each other. And I'm going to give you just an idea. If we're doing an intersection, I'm not going to leave it, but I'm just going to draw one. If you do a road across a road, again, sidewalk, for example, goes away because it understands we don't typically put the regular concrete piece of sidewalk through a drive. So again, very simple software to use. Again, more about harnessing your experience and those kind of things versus how fast can you type keys and move a mouse. So now that we have this in, you can see we got a nice little roadway. We can go back and we can grade this again. Now let's talk about grading a little bit. There's two phases of grading with roadway and SideOps. This is what I would call, again, conceptual. This is a higher level grading. This is based on cost. But I'm going to show you in a minute what a profile looks like, and you're going to understand why there's a second grade. If I'm doing a parking lot and I need to sheet flow from north to south and do some basic things, SideOps is excellent at doing that because it's a lot easier to control. When we're going up and down along a roadway, it's a little harder. But what SideOps does is it uses triangles. It uses a surface, just like we do with anything else, and it's moving it up and down. And those triangles have properties that allow it to have that flexibility to find the best design. But for one of the things that we don't really like, that sort of comes out of this, is it's really nice that it does that for us, but then roads can look like this. And well, let's be honest, that's not what we want a road to look like, right? I cannot have it looks like this, and you can see all the bumps. Again, that's following that surface model. So to make life a lot simpler for you, we now take this and we take it to another level. Now I can come in if I want to redefine my road and I want to start adding things on my own. I can start doing it just like this, and I can create whatever road I want to. Okay, and we can have properties. I can come into points, and I can start changing the K values and the lengths and all that. But I tell people, don't start there yet. Not unless you just know I have an exact design. What most of our users love is the best fit. I still want to use some of this knowledge to come in and solve a solution. So I'm going to do best fit. I'm going to tell it, in this case, we probably need a K value of about 38. Let's do some tangents of 100 feet, and we're going to set back. And I'm just going to give you this. The webinar cannot do justice of watching this move on the screen because now it's taking that optimized design and it's looking for how can I best fit an engineered design to this, again, to still give me the best solution possible. And it's done. That's it. But this is where, again, we go back in and we start making decisions and making things different. Let's say we had a little crossing here. I want to make it a little bit higher. Now, the beauty is, you see this little square right over here on the side, that's that driveway coming in. So there's only but so much movement I'm going to be able to do. So when I go out the grade, I may have just caught a grading error, and it's going to show that. I'll show grading error in just a second. But I'm just going to come in, and we'll move the roadway. Or, here's a good one. There's no way they're going to let me come off that main road, at least in North Carolina, with a looks like almost a 9% slope. Not going to happen. So let's add a point. And I can come in and get more controlled and do all kind of, exactness if you want over on the right-hand side. Just for now, we're going to just play around a little bit. Now, you do see that the red vertical curve going here because it is a bad curve. It doesn't meet my requirements. So let's come in and let's give this a K value of 38 as well. So I got to make a change somewhere else. So if the DOT is willing to allow this, well, that means I got to lower this one. And you can actually see even my tangent between the curves. This is the really cool part. I can start making changes by moving. And again, if on the right, if I want an exact station, exact elevation, I may get something close and say, all right, let's move this to station 925 just to get a little more exact. Those kind of things, you can do that. But once you're done, you just say close. And now let's go back and grade that same roadway. So if we go in and we look at the red, the blue, if you go back and look at the red, here's that main driveway entrance where we were sloping it down to meet the DOT requirements. There we go. Cost a couple $100,000 to do that, but for us, it was just a few seconds, really a few minutes worth of work. We didn't have to do a lot to make that happen. And that's the really cool part about doing roadways inside of SideOps. Again, it's all about, oh, I don't like the solution. Let's change it. Let's do something else. And it'll take care of that for me. So the question is, what do you do once you've got the design? That's sort of the what's next inside SideOps. Well, the what next is we need to take this design out. So I'm going to do I'm going to open up one other one real quick just to fast forward it a little bit. I did the same basic area, and then, for example, I'll show you that main entrance down near the front. We did a lot more design with it. So how do we want to take this out? You can take this out to any of your favorite CAD programs. We'll talk about this while I'm getting ready for the next thing I want to show you. But you can take it and save a file locally. The DGN, DWG, LandXML, SideOps is our own file, KMZ for Google Earth. Or you can just say, I want to open it in my favorite Bentley software, and there you go. Now, we do keep Lumen RT out to the side, and I'll show you why in just a few moments. So this is a roadway I spent maybe about 20 minutes on this morning. And I've done things like I've told it to bring in Lumen RT. For the ones who do know about Lumen RT, it's a visualization tool Bentley has. If you don't, you're going to see it in just a few moments. But I can actually tell SideOps to put that out. I want to array it along the project, and you actually have those models in there so the trees sway with the wind and they have shadows and all that in just a few moments. But the other thing I want to show you is the vehicle path routing. We can also come in, and we're just going to do a simple analysis of, does this turn lane work to bring in a, let's back that out, a WB, let's say, I don't know, we'll say 64 truck. So we have a thing called vehicle path. So all I got to do is pick on the path. There we go. Select edit. Then in here, which vehicle do I want? Let's go with a 67. Apply. Now here's a good, I'm going to turn off the underlay image just for a minute. Here's a good example. You see how we're not quite making the entrance right there. So that comes back to a couple of different things. You can see we're having a problem. So let's turn that underlay image back on for just a minute. So if we do this, this is where you can do something really simple. Let's just come in and let's put a draw point. And I'm going to come in and just tell it, actually, we already got some points in here. So let's just use the ones that are already existing. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to tell it. Again, this is back to using my knowledge versus the computers. So let's come in and let's make this 36 feet. Start to solver up. Actually, if you see if I make that 36 feet, see how that will make it in just fine. So then I'm going to actually tell it we got 3 lanes, because what I'm basically creating is a little turn lane that, again, they may or may not be able to go into. We'll decide that later on. And then I want to add just a simple little taper. Let's try 75 feet and see what it looks like. Oh, 75 is too much. Let's make that 60 feet. There we go. So now I can actually get my truck into this project without an issue. And that's the point, again, giving people knowledge, letting your clients understand what you're doing, and doing it very quickly. This is a big benefit of SideOps. So the other thing I want to show real fast, because we're getting up near our time, is, again, conveying intent of design. That's one of the biggest and hardest things that we have, especially in something like a roadway that can go over a massive amount of area and pack thousands of people. And you have these community meetings, and you're always trying to figure out what's the easiest and best way to show them stuff. Well, in SideOps, if you're using us, you can go up to that export, and you can do an export straight to Lumen RT. And when you do that, it'll take, I think this took about 5 minutes to open up in Lumen RT. It's going to look just like this. This is Lumen RT with SideOps in it. And the only thing I added is I went in and they got a great little tool for adding traffic. It took me just a few minutes to add this traffic into this lower corner. Let me just sort of move it around and zoom in a little bit. You can actually see the traffic coming in, going in. Let's put it up on a nice resolution so it actually looks good with things moving and trees swaying in the wind and all this kind of stuff. If we go in the nighttime. So imagine what you can do if you could spend a couple days, a couple hours on a project. We could put some more lighting in here so we could see it a little better. But these are the kind of things that can be done because we're working in a model. And that's the beauty of SideOps, is you're going to start in that model. You're going to go and you're going to figure out what's the best thing to do, so that when we come out and we want to present to somebody an intent, which, let's be honest, when we're doing projects, it's all about doing a design that we can convey the intent to get stakeholder buy-in. That's what we do. no matter if it's designing a storm sewer system, a roadway, a subdivision, or the McDonald's on the corner. That's what it's all about. We need buy-in from the group. So that's what we've always done with SideUps. Now I'm going to show y'all. Y'all going to be the first Tech Talk group to see this. I'm going to show you just a little something we're working on. SideUps is going to come out in a couple months. So in December, I'm doing a Tech Talk showing all the stuff that you might have missed throughout the year with SideOps, and I'm going to really go over how to use what we call a new publishing tool. All you have to do is tell SideOps to publish. This case, I actually have a microstation building inside of it, but you can have a building model attached to it. There's some trees, there's some cars. We don't want them all fancy colors. We want to focus more on the site. Over on the left, your information. How much parking do I have? How big's the impervious area, building area, budget. I can actually tell it to just show quantities or just show a budget, and we can go in and actually see a very detailed budget, not that little thing in the lower right-hand corner. So again, we can make sure that they understand. But this is the beauty of this system. I can send this address to anybody, and then they can even sit it on. And this is housed out there, and it's in a system similar to Google Earth, but this one I love a lot better because it's our own, and we can actually then even swing through maps. So this is using, if I go up here to the right, this is using the Esri World Map. But what if I want to go in and use a Bing map? I can do that. And it quickly loads up, and it's in 3D, so it shows my cut and my fill. So if I zoom, you can actually see the retaining wall on the back of the project. Or maybe I want to come in and do a Bing map with labels. A lot of times people, you show them a map, they still don't know where they're at. But again, the idea of within a couple hours, I can go from an address to this and send them that and say, all right, what do you think? Give me some feedback. Should I move the building? Should we add something? Should we take something away? This is probably one of the most important things out there. Again, getting intent across to the client so that they will make comments and get it back to you. We don't make money in revisions. Let's be honest. That's where most of us lose money. So the faster we can get something done, the faster we can go forward. It's good to go.
All right, Dave, we got a few questions for you.
Okay. All
right, so the first question we have here is, can this be used for a levee, channel, and other linear design features?
Let me phrase this. Let me put this politically correct way. No. Let me put it the way the users do. Yes. It depends on what level you're looking at. If I'm doing an earth levee, we have some tools under grading that will allow you to go in and do some very exact grading, do things with constraint areas and make them go certain ways. And from a conceptual standpoint, yeah, you can. We've had people do that. I will not say they don't. From my end, though, when I'm talking about levee that has components inside of the levee that may be part earth, part not, no, SideUps cannot get to that level. It really depends on the complexity of the levee that you're working with.
All right, got another question for you here. Somebody's asking about this program seems to have more tools than Open Roads Concept Station. Is that correct?
At this current point, again, SideOps' concept station for Open Roads is newer. It's coming along, but we're more site driven. We're more about coming in and not just doing a roadway, but we want to do a parking lot and a building. So they're adding tools as we go through over time. So you'll most likely see over time some of SideOps type of capabilities added to Concept Station, but right now they are two separate tools. But yeah, we have more tools because we've been around a good bit longer.
All right, then we got another question for you here. Can you, in the model view, do a view down the road and in the driver's seat?
You cannot inside SideOps. No, not really. Inside of here, though, because I can do that quick export out. This is probably really why I'd rather show it. But so this is what I would do. Let's just do one real quick. Won't take but a second. We'll just ride up through this road a little bit. Let's just come up here and we'll do another point. We'll just do this. You can actually inside Lumen RT within seconds or minutes create a video. It will interpolate anything in there for you. It will come in and make it. If I put more points, it probably wouldn't have went through the tree. But it will go in and it will make up to a 4K video. It can do still shots. I can actually do VR. I could shove this out and let somebody feel like they're driving and look left and right and see what's happening. So yes, you can do this, but we figured why in SideOps at this lower, 3D visual state would I want to do that? I want to do that in something like Lumen RT, that's a great purpose for it, is to give me some of that visual. And again, that's the thing about, for example, Concept Station, as brought up earlier. It has a lot of Lumen RT built into it. We're separate from Lumen RT because we just pass the model through a little bit different, but a lot of the same concept.
All right, kind of a question along the same lines is, can you capture that view to plot on an exhibit plan?
Yeah, you would definitely. Again, if that's the view that I want right there, I can just go under. See, now they're making me have to work hard, Gerald. Um, Here we go. I think it's this one. Yeah, this is where I go. Everybody has a little different. There's a photo button here. I like going over here. But at this point, this is where I can set the resolution. Do I want super fine? So if I want to come out and say, hey, let's just take an image. We'll do it super fine. Where do I want to save it? What do I want to call it? And then I just tell it save photo. I can do that. But for me, what I do, again, depending on the savviness of your client, there's a thing in here called a live cube. And live cubes are awesome. I would share it as a live cube, because a live cube actually goes in, it packs it all up, and basically what it does, it sends out a version of the same model that they can scroll around, they can look at, but what you don't have are the tools over here to mess it up. So, for example, if you go in and do that nighttime shot, they can do it, but they can't go in and change how it flows through and all this. But the other beauty is it's also geolocated, so it knows what time of the day of the year that the sun goes down in this area of Raleigh, North Carolina. So as they're looking at it, again, they're looking at it in fairly close to real time.
All right, got another question for you here. Is the traffic coming in from Visum?
You can do that in Lumen RT. It is not. This is actually, and I left this one lane undone just because I had a feeling somebody would ask, and I want to show it. So if you do know the traffic, again, there's a tool out there called Visium that works with Lumen RT and MicroStation and other tools to help put exact vehicle movement on here. But for some of us, we don't maybe have that. So I can actually come in under my cars on left. There's a little button right here that looks like multiple cars. It's a traffic. And I can go in, and we'll just do real simple, real quick. We'll just go in and say right down through here, and we'll just stop it there for now. Over here on the left, this is not a two-way street. This is one way. I have 2 lanes, and I just want to go ahead and make traffic and get out of this area. There we go. And there's traffic on that roadway. So that's all I did. I just went in and drew that, and then I have full control. Maybe I need more cars. What kind of cars do I want? They got tons of libraries out here of about everything you need. And that's, again, and all this is sort of here for you. Lumen RT is a fantastic tool to take your model and do something with it, and SideOps is all about creating the model. So together, it brings a relationship that just absolutely blowing the industry away, and that's one of the beautiful things about it, is how can we do that? So let's jump into just 1 or 2 more PowerPoints just so we can get along with the rest of our day. So I like this quote. We're going to end on this will be the last quote. Basically, television is not real life. In real life, people actually have to leave the coffee shop and go do their jobs. And that's what we try to get across with SideOps, is a lot of times people have been hand sketching and doing all this other stuff. And the problem is when they show a lot of things in 3D and they show a lot of what I just showed you, a lot of times it's not real. Okay? I think most of it do that. When it takes weeks to create a 3D visualization and the client's not even sure we can do the project, a lot of it's sort of fake. And when we have to do that, all that's going to do is turn around and make life difficult for us. So what we try to say is quit sort of living in the easy world. Go out and get something like SideOps and Lumen RT. Work together to come up with that better workflow that will work for you, because you'll be able to go out and be able to take care of things and make life nice and simple for you. So the other thing is, this is what we call BD squared, better detail for better business decision. This is something for your business side of your company. A lot of SideOps users get benefits from business because they're able to do things faster, better, deliver projects, again, to the point where the client needs it. Sometimes even help them bring projects that financially didn't look like they would work back to life. That's a really cool one. So it always exceeds expectations. I always say that in the SideOps presentation, because that's what we hear all the time. I showed the client, they were blown away. They saw that grading and said, wait a minute, you're saving me money, and we just started the project. So again, that's the beauty of SideOps. And that's the thing that you're going to be able to get through modeling. And when you're doing roadways, again, it's just like everything else in SideOps. Harness your knowledge, harness your experience, instead of harnessing how fast you can move your fingers. So if you don't believe it, try it. This is something we created a free trial. Has some tools grayed out like most free trials, but fairly much everything's there. If you're a Bentley user, go to Bentley Fulfillment Center. SideOps is there. If you're ELS, you have there's two different downloads, one for ELS, one for not. But for the free trial, it doesn't matter. There's only one download. And if you're not a Bentley user, go to bentley.com. Go under the products, look for SideOps. Go to the conceptual site design software area. Click on that button. All you got to do, put in your name and email, and you're ready to go. Try SideOps out within just a few minutes after that. Let's finish up with if there's any more questions.
All right, Dave, got a couple more questions for you here. What is the best way to bring in shapefiles?
Shapefiles. All right, SideUps, so we'll just go right back into it. The easiest way to bring in a shapefiles, there's an import file right here, just like it looks like in most tools. You can go out and go to an import and just go out and find the shapefile. Once you bring it in, since shapefiles are typically geolocated, and if it's in your area, it'll drop right in. So, for example, I have a whole directory on one of my drives that is nothing but GIS shape data files. And you can see, for example, I live in Cabarrus County, North Carolina, so I have one called tax parcels. So whenever I'm doing testing, playing around, I can bring those in, wetlands, and it brings in whatever data is associated with that as well. So it's really neat that, for example, I'm pretty sure in Raleigh, I could go to the local mapping for that area, be able to download some GIS data, drop it in, and know exactly where all the property boundaries are. So that's the easiest way to do it. Oh, one other quick one before I forget. There is one other way. If you're in a bigger company, especially where you have your own REST servers, if you know what I'm talking about, then you can easily use that. If you direct this location to your company's REST servers and you have GIS data there, they will pop up just like you see on this. It'll replace it with your information.
All right, Dave, we got another question for you here. What type of computer system do you need, RAM, graphics, and memory size?
We have a whole set of requirements out there, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you're using any CAD tool, you're using way better than what you need with SideOps. SideOps does not take much at all. The guys who have created this software, they typically use some of the smallest, worst machines you can find to test on. So yeah, if I tell everybody, if you're running any CAD system that was probably made since 2008, you'll be good to go. Now, it's like anything. If I'm doing a 5,000 acre project, a little more horsepower, a little better machine, of course it helps. But you'll still be able to run SideOps. So again, I wouldn't worry about the computer. That's not big a deal. And for internet, you really just need above dial-up. Because once I've downloaded the data, like I am now, I'm actually working on my machine. The only time I'm really going back is when I'm saving or import or export, those kind of things. I'll go to the servers again. But otherwise, I'm right here on my machine working.
All right. Now, since you showed traffic signal on your Lumen RT model, somebody asked you, can you design signals?
That it cannot. The signals that I show on my Lumen RT are just some blocks that they have. So I just went in and grabbed them, threw them into place, and that way, we could actually see a little traffic signal, and this is more of just a little eye candy to help the client understand what's going on. But yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't do any. SideOps doesn't do any of the design of any traffic movement. That's back to us as the designers.
All right, got another question here. Do you have to buy Lumen RT?
Yes. For SideOps, if you want to use SideOps and Lumen RT, you have to buy Lumen RT. I'm not sure. I think Lumen RT may be built in as part of Concept Station. I think. I don't want to overcommit on that, but I know for us, yes, you get both of them if that's what you want.
All right. Something about the Esri, one of the questions asked, how does that work with GeoMedia? I'm not familiar with GeoMedia, but maybe you are, David.
That I am not. We'll take care of you offline. I'm not sure what GeoMedia is, not off the top of my head.
Can you elaborate on the stormwater design?
Okay. when it comes to stormwater, SideOps uses the rational method, and it's very, very conservative. It's really meant for more things like parking lots, things like that. If we go in and let's just see, we'll let it run a solver on it. Um, we'll see if it'll let us run a piping. Its piping again is very rudimentary. Actually it's not letting me because I have a grading issue. Let's just see what the grading issue is. We can solve it real quick. So basically, it comes down to the point of we tell users if you're doing something like only on roadway, you may or may not use it piping because I can set in and put minimum things, but for the one thing it can't take, which almost all of us have to design for, is spread. It does not have spread calculations built into it as of yet. We're going to work on the storm drainage probably next year is what we're looking at. But right now, if I go in and I actually go to stormwater, again, it's going to more look at how do we do the rational method, comes up with the design. I can control rainfall intensity, runoff, the coefficients, everything like that. And it'll actually give me a quantity and breakdown of cost and what all it used in the back end. But it, again, just won't do it up front. Just because again it's more the rational method.
All right, got another question for you. I'm asking about how to model bridges.
We do not model bridges at all. There's some little tips and tricks that we show in training to simulate the area where the bridge would be, but no, we do not do bridging. Again, that is definitely a concept. If you're at the level where you're doing a roadway that requires the bigger bridging thing like that, you are definitely into the concept station tool. We're more for local type roadways. You would not use SideOps for bridging. Like say, for example, there was a low point that we rode through somewhere up in this region was a little creek. We'd show you how to go into SideOps and handle that. But no, we don't model bridges at all.
All right, David, that's all the questions we have.
Perfect. I do want to thank everyone for attending today. Again, like I said, check us out every month. We do Tech Talks every month, but also make sure and check out the one in December. If you've missed anything, I'm gonna go through all the good stuff, highlight all the fantastic things that we've done this year. Because for a lot of people, they may be waiting for that one little tool that we may have already built and we just haven't covered, or maybe you missed the Tech Talk that covered that. So I want to thank everyone and have a great rest of your day.